Welcome! Today we'll be reading The Keeper of Fire, written by Davina Marie Liberty, that's me, Mermaid Liberty, and read by Mermaid Liberty. The Keeper of Fire, Book 1 of the Dolphin Code Trilogy. Long ago, before the mermaids crawled onto the shore, nudged and supported by the great whales of their time, before the rise of cities and villages, even before the falcon majestically spread his wings to claim the sky, the balances of all that is good or can be evil were set into the stars. The scales were erected by Mowat himself in an effort to forever maintain what was good, what was gray. He still did not know what to make of this decision, this action he once thought inevitable but now seemed destructive. He found himself looking out over the earth, his thoughts stressed, his shoulders tense. The stars seemed to dull when Mowat frowned. A dolphin peered out of the empty space next to him. "This world is not entirely evil yet, Mowat," the dolphin, who called himself a rill, advised. "It has actually been cause for our relief since the mermaids took their chances to escape this peril." "No, not evil yet," the necromancer agreed. "But things can escalate beyond even my control. And what if things do turn for the worse? What if the keepers fail? We need to keep a watchful eye. We are attempting to set a careful balance here, a precarious weight between extremes." "I see." A rill remained quiet, but Mowat knew his friend well enough to know that he harbored more thoughts than he would bring to conversation. He stared at the dolphin for a moment as he hovered about the stars. Frowning once more, he turned back to his scales and checked the weight. He added a single stone. "There we are. In years to come, this balance will shift. We must devote ourselves for the inevitable day when the mermaids will recount to themselves what they have done, and the entire world must face it. One can hope they will stray from evil, and all will live in harmony together, but that is not the nature of these new creatures. We must be realistic." Mowat called forth the moon and gazed into what lay beyond. A rill looked on solemnly. The man was aware of what was to come in these long years ahead, and he shuddered when he knew fear. Many years passed, and Mowat watched the tides and the changes. Men had risen from the sea, lost their fins and scales, established families, villages, cities, and a government of people. On the surface, it seemed they had gained more than they abandoned, and he was nearly pleased at this, but they had also lost their memories. It became clear as the years went on that man was different than their mystical brethren. They rose from the oceans and became something new, something devoid of magic and mystery. Painfully unaware of the existence and presence of all magical creatures, mankind reduced these people to topics of wonder, slivers of memory from long ago brought to myths and legends, nothing more than campfire lore. Mowat stared across the divide from his separate mountain. He glowered at Relant, the Keeper of Fire. Lightning flashed in the distance against the eerie blue-gray sky. He brushed aside the wet, white hair that clung to his face, and he stared at the black form. He gripped his staff firmly. Mowat could only just make out Relant's dark silhouette looming over the valley below. The Dark Keeper's talons dug into the parallel mountain, dripping streams of blood, the darkest Mowat had ever seen. He could see the hourglass of time above them, the sand slipping away into the Odell Valley. He saw a woman grow ill, her husband die, and she herself bedridden and slowly fading away as her daughter cared for her over the years. The plans were in motion. He dared to speak against the howling wind. "Relant," he began. Relant raised his two wicked talons and joined his claws together. He thrust his palms outward and growled, "Debeo!" Silvery fire blazed towards Mowat's form. "Lateo!" Mowat cried, deflecting it with his staff. It flew harmlessly over Relant's shoulder. Mowat sighed and a gust of wind ruffled his hair. He growled, "I have recently sensed a deep magic cast upon the four elements of the earth. And what is it to you as such a spell has been cast?" "Be reasonable, Dark Keeper. You know what we are bound by." "And must we play by the rules, dear teacher?" Relant sneered. "I have every right to meddle in the affairs of humans as you do, and forget the code. You never practice the loyalty the code proclaims anyhow, hypocrite. You will never find the one to rejoin them. Why waste your time?" "Relant," Mowat warned through gritted teeth, "I know such a creature as you has very little use for such a thing as honor, but I am here to only ask for a simple consideration." Relant opened his mouth and let out a high-pitched, eerie cry. "You know your song does not affect me," Mowat growled. "Why do you even try?" "Someday you may drop your defenses, and on that day I will catch you unawares and sing as I do to the mer people." Relant flashed him a nasty grin. Mowat's tone changed drastically and his features hardened. He became angry, frightening, the cloud behind him darkening. Thunder. He knew he looked as one he feared, but Relan hardly flinched when he began to shout. You dare to threaten them after all of this? I have heard far too many reports of the slaughter of the unknown world. Many mystical creatures have fallen victim to the spell you have cast, this fever. Why forget the code? What is your purpose? The code they were referring to was a new order that arrived when half the mer people became man. When the people of the sea washed ashore, they became so beyond what the rest of the world knew as to their origins and ways of life, they all but created a new world for themselves. As Mowat saw these things unfold, the dolphins wrote a code of ethics, a code derived from their life in the sea, promoting peace and unity, a code he hoped they would not forget of all the memories lost to them. It stated that, differences aside, the humans and mystical creatures still belonged to the same earth, and though they could not coexist, they were both susceptible to higher influences. However, the code only allowed so much intervention between those few who hovered above the realm of humans and mystics alike, the Keepers. Mowat swore to this and took it on faith that Relant would too. All were under the same powers. It was one world, however divided. Relant, Mowat continued, it is a parallel. You must leave the people alone. By taking their lives and their strengths, you weaken the wills of the entire world. It began to snow. Relant laughed a deep, slow laugh. You now have the idea, Mowat. Brilliant. It began to hail. Mowat glanced to the third mountain, the quiet volcano of the eastern ranges, Mount Odell. He looked and saw the one he chose, the one who was to bridge the gap between everything. It will not work, Relant warned, catching his gaze. There is not a single one who can withstand the trials to unite the people of this earth. You try so hard with your visions of honor, and yet man reveres me like a god. And now they will die in the spell I have cast. You, Mowat, have nothing. He laughed, blood dripping sloppily from his mandibles down to his chin. Mowat's eyes flashed with the lightning. The sound he made was as thunder. Relant, he boomed. Relant laughed again. Indeed, Mowat, teacher of life, he sneered. You have at long last discovered my plan of death.